Earlier this week, Jimmy Kimmel, the comedian and the talk show host of late night television, some like Stephen Colbert, like Seth Meyers, Conan O'Brien. You know, Good news, he had a baby son. Aw, and he named him Little Billy. That was the good news. The bad news is a little bit terrifying to learn. Little Billy had a bit of a heart condition. I wouldn't really say a little bit, but it was like he came out of the womb, he was purple, and doctors were trying to figure out what was wrong, and it turned out that he had a heart murmur, which there was a hole between the left and right walls of the heart. I mean, he explained it a lot better during his monologue during one of his late night talks. The always the always hilarious, the always jokester of Jimmy Kimmel came off very somber, came off very sincere. It almost looks like it was just heart wrenching to feel. And anyone who saw that would, there would not be a dry eye in that place. It was just, how would you feel if that was your child? That was the message I was going around. Little Billy is expected to be okay, but he's got a lifetime of problems. Take it from me. It's probably invisible, mainly because of the chest hair, onions, mushrooms. Anyway, I have it right here. I have proof that I've had a pre-existing condition myself. I was born with that bad heart murmur as well, and it's not fun. That heart was working much harder than it should have when I was born. I was eating so much. I'm surprised I haven't, I'm not this obese person. I'm not shaming any fat people here. I'm just explaining my situation. Now, we're glad that he's okay. But it also brought up a message about the repeal and replacement of Obamacare. And, you know, we see a lot more people becoming opposed to this repeal and replace. Not because the Affordable Care Act was such a spectacular thing, which it sort of was, but they've seen what the American Health Care Act is all about. And people are going like, we don't want that. I mean, we want Obamacare, fixed. We want it to be better. This is not going to work. Unfortunately, GOP doesn't give a fuck. The Grand Old Party, led by, you could say Donald Trump, the President of the United States, but I can also say Speaker Paul Ryan, who might look at little Billy Kimmel and go like, oh, you have a bad heart condition. Well, guess what? Fuck you. You're not getting any benefits from us. You could almost say that Mo Williams, one of the people of the Grand Old Party, the GOP, who are taking on this Obamacare bill, comes out onto CNN and goes like, "Well, listen. I mean, the best health care goes to people who have lived the best lives. They're the ones who did everything wrong." Now, I'm not saying that those people born with pre-existing conditions are going to be well covered. Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. And um, yeah, how do I put this? You're going to screw over people who have pre-existing conditions because they had no control, because they were born with those conditions. Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that if you're born healthy, you get this health care. If you're not born healthy, fuck you. That is pretty much what Speaker Ryan, what the House of Representatives are telling little Billy Kimmel and millions of other people who were born with pre-existing conditions like diabetes, asthma, other heart conditions, lung failures, lung conditions, cancer. I mean, you're born with them, and they're gonna like screw you. And for him to say, you know, the best healthcare goes to the people who've been living good lives. I hate to inform you, but you may have a good life, but it doesn't mean you're immune. You could get sick. That is what a hospital is there for. You could have cancer. You could even have cardiac arrest. You may be this trillionaire. You may be wanting to flaunt the millions you have. Show off and go like, and all of a sudden, you see where I'm going at with? You're telling me that this healthcare is going to cover everyone. This healthcare, much like the previous healthcare bill beforehand, much like the previous healthcare before, the healthcare bill beforehand, it's the same bill. It's the same exact bill that Speaker Ryan has been trying to get passed down for the past 7 years. Ever since Obamacare came around. Or should we call it the Affordable Care Act, as we call it. Why? Because he doesn't want millionaires to be paying for those people who can't afford it. Which is completely asinine. We have Medicare for All brought up by Bernie Sanders. And that is a much better healthcare plan than the American Health Care Act. Why, you may ask? Very simple. It covers everyone. The American Health Care Act covers only the 1%. And those are the ones who have the money. Obama had this plan that says, hey, anyone who's getting over $200,000 a year, you might as well be helping the others, because that way it's all fair. Now, like I said, it wasn't perfect. Even Barack Obama, now that he's back in Chicago, or back in Illinois, wherever he is now, he knows it wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing. Let's be honest. Now, I don't know about you, but I could be wrong, and I might be wrong, and you guys are going to call me on this, but even private insurers, so people who have these private insurances, they might not get covered at all. They might lose their coverage. Why? Because they're the ones who can't afford, ones who are going to say, well, I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm just taking a wild guess on that one. A wild guess. And even worse off, Medicaid's gone. Which is going to hurt millions. I mean, it's bad enough that 26 million people are going to go off this healthcare bill. But with Paul Ryan, with the whole GOP taking out Medicaid, he's willing to fuck over even more people. Why? Because they can't afford healthcare. Plain and simple. We want this healthcare, you got to pay for it. That's their goal. We have premiums that are going to skyrocket, and we want you to all pay it for it. Paul Ryan wants tax cuts for the rich. Donald Trump wants tax cuts for the rich. And everyone else, we have to pay for nothing. That's the bottom line. I felt terrible for Billy Kimmel. And this is just Speaker Ryan going like, yeah, you had that bad health condition. Now get to work.